know I said that was our last topic, but I do want to add one more because I think this is very important as well, especially in today's day and age. And this topic is constantly changing these days. And that, of course, is the topic of stimulus plans. First, we've seen Donald Trump say at some points that he will refuse to negotiate about stimulus plans until after the election and until after he claims his second inauguration. But then he's jumped back on that a little bit, saying that if Nancy Pelosi puts a bill onto his desk about a stimulus plan, he'll sign it right away. And now he's blaming it on Nancy Pelosi. So what is Trump doing on this? Does Trump want a stimulus plan? Does Trump not want a stimulus plan? What's going on with that?
Well, I'm taking Trump's point of view here. It's extremely, the first several stimulus plans, there's more than one. There's been in excess of $2 trillion extra that's been spent, replacing money that people weren't spending, and that has helped prop up the economy. In February and March, the stock market was down tremendously. Once the first several stimulus plans were passed, market came roaring back because people were still spending. Now, as people have lost the extra $600 a week, and again, there are still massive parts of the economy that are closed. Live entertainment is closed. Sports is open, but not for people going into the arenas. Wedding venues, things like that. There are large sections of live entertainment that's completely closed and will remain closed for a while. To keep people spending money, the whole concept of stimulus is great. When he specifically said, Louis, as you pointed out, he said he was sick and tired of the negotiating, not going to have anything else to do with it. Stock market dropped between 2 and 3%, literally in 5 minutes. And then he got really scared and said, uh-oh. The next day he came out and said, I want to have something bigger. Right now, I don't know that there are enough Republicans and Democrats together who are willing to pass it because of the politics. Could we use help? Maybe, but right now, it's going to be too difficult. Do I think Trump would like a stimulus plan right now before the election to try and prop up things, make people think he's getting something done? Absolutely think he would like something like that. I'm not sure there's enough Republican support in the Senate. I'm not even sure there's enough Democrat support to hand him what looks like a win with 2 weeks to go to the election.
All right, and Dr. Axelrod?
So from Vice President Biden's perspective, look, continuing to have stimulus is going to be very important. And for many of the points that Todd was bringing up, many people still either don't have jobs, or they don't have the same amount of work that they had before, or they don't have the same salaries, okay? So that's one thing we have to keep in mind. Part of having a stimulus plan is sometimes you've got to spend money when you don't have income coming in so that it doesn't become more expensive in the future. So for example, if you own a home and you're unemployed and the roof needs to be fixed, you spend the money to fix the roof, because if you don't, you're going to ruin the whole house, and then you end up with no house, and then you're in a much worse situation. And that's what the stimulus plan is about. It's making sure people have enough money for food, that they have, they can afford to, live where they are. And so part of the plan is also to limit the amount of evictions, okay? That they can afford health care, because we clearly need more of it, to be able to afford the new methods of educating their children, okay? They need to be able to have, in many households now, they need to have at least one of their parents stay home to help the kids do online education. Well, that's a paycheck lost for many families. So in order to make that affordable, they need some more help with the stimulus. So I think that's one of the ways to understand this, okay? We're in the middle of a crisis. We need to get through the crisis. And a stimulus plan that tends to give more money to those who are already wealthy and have a lot of assets misses the point. It needs to go to those that have little, okay, that are struggling to find a job or struggling to get enough work. I would say that, Vice President Biden is very concerned about the people, that are traditional blue collar workers, those are struggling families, and, what we would call Main Street is compared to Wall Street. And, we need to bail out not just the wealthy, not just the states that support Trump, but to bail out all the states. If we lose the coasts, if you lose New York and New Jersey and California, that is a huge part of the economy that the other states just are not going to be able to make up for.
I think it's important to note that neither Trump nor Biden's plan covers a stimulus package that would include coverage for individuals between the age of 18 and 24 that are still on their parents' health insurance. And I say that as a young individual, and myself and many of my friends and my coworkers and my acquaintances and most students on the campus or just go to school here did not get anything, because if you were under 18, you got $500. Well, your parents received $500 for the kid. If you were over 24 or on your own health insurance, you received that $1,200 unless you were making a certain amount of money. Is it problematic that young people between 18 and 24 are not receiving any stimulus checks? Because I feel of all people, we are the ones that spend so much money.
Todd, do you mind if I go first?
It's classic economics 101.
Yeah.
Give money to people who have less of it. They have a higher marginal propensity to consume, which means if you give them more income, they're more likely to spend it. So the answer is yes, of course. Having said that, the stimulus was surprising. The first several stimulus packages were surprisingly successful because the economy was in free fall, and it stopped the free fall. It really did. It was like catching, the expression on Wall Street, catch a falling knife. They actually caught a falling knife and didn't get hurt and propped it back up again. So yeah, were a couple of things missed? Absolutely. Is there too much hesitation now going into the next stimulus plan? Absolutely. Politics on both sides interrupting more stimulus talks.
I think another thing that we have to keep in mind with respect to Social Security and Medicare, Medicaid, is that having older people have the resources to be able to retire is essential for moving them out of the workforce so that there is more work available for those at the younger age. And we can't have the older generation competing with the younger generation, especially in the middle of the crisis. Louis, I think you're bringing up a very, very important point about the young generation now. It's leading to a delay in their education. We're starting to see numbers suggesting that there's a 15–16% drop in students starting freshman year in college, countrywide.
So the article today.
But I mean, it's understandable. It's understandable. It's not irrational, but that's going to be a problem. And so when we think about these solutions, it is a whole holistic, feedback loop issue. If older people do not feel comfortable retiring, they're going to hang around longer, and that's going to slow down the 18 to 24 getting into the workplace, and we need them to either get more education or be productive, not only because of what they're producing now, but because that work experience enables them to be more productive sooner. And ultimately, in an economy, it's not about the money, it's about what we produce, right? Because you can have more money, but if you're not producing anymore, your standard of living doesn't go up.